One of Ray's famous quips, which I have kept going and even named an album after, was "No jazz please were British." Today marks 2 years since the passing of my first saxophone teacher, Ray Wilkes. Ray was a larger-than-life character who inspired many, many music students, but I can say personally from me, I can't envisage how I would have become a professional saxophone player without having studied with Ray Wilkes. And I'm very, very grateful to my parents and to the other music teachers around the Blackpool area, the Fleetwood area, way back in the early 90s, who, when I started playing tenor saxophone, were able to say, well, the guy you need to go to is Ray Wilkes. Ray Wilkes. This was this name we kept hearing over and over again. Ray Wilkes, Ray Wilkes. And I remember vividly coming home, I think from playing football, and my dad saying to me, I've got you a saxophone lesson sorted with Ray Wilkes. I would have been 10, because Ray's first comment when my dad phoned him was, "Tenor sax at 10?" And, you know, the saxophone was a huge thing. You know, you've seen me play a tenor. Imagine a tenor saxophone on a 10-year-old. Now, it's quite a tall and big 10-year-old, but it was still quite a big instrument. I remember my very first lesson, it was on dotted crotchet on the quaver, in the pink tuner day book. And I still, to this day, you know, remind my students when they're, you know, if they're discovering that was my first lesson. And I also used to remember Ray with a putter, although he used to have a headless putter that he did it with, and he would be banging into the floor all the time, trying to help me keep time. Those are the early memories. Remembering him with his Mark 6, and I told you about Ray's Mark 6 in this video. Just a really inspiring guy. And whilst I only studied with him for 8 years, I wish it had been longer. Later on, when I moved to Northern Ireland and came back after I'd been in America and London, what I realised was how good Ray was. He was up there, his knowledge was as good, if not better, than some of the guys I'd learnt with in London and New York. He was just this absolute powerhouse of musical knowledge and this phenomenal player. One of my regrets in life is that I never really heard him at his pomp. Now, the music you heard at the start of this vlog was from a recording from the 1950s of Ray playing that his bass player at the time actually passed on to me. I need to get around to releasing it at some point. It's just one of these things that's kind of been on my back burner all the time. And a track that I've shared and I will share in today's is one that I did with Ray in 2004 at the Villa. And the great thing Ray used to say to me when I was younger, he used to, "You'll be up on stage with me when you're 16." He never did get me up on stage, but I got him on stage with me in my early 20s, and that was a great honour. And I look back with so much fondness in having had that opportunity to get up and play with Ray, and so many of those other great. One of the things that Blackpool had in the 1960s, it had a thriving music scene in the 50s and 60s, and so it attracted a lot of musicians from around the north of the country, including Scotland, which meant that as I was kind of starting to learn in my teens, a lot of these guys were starting to retire. And also a lot of the music work was drying up, so they took on teaching, like Ray, Jimmy Thompson, Roy Beach, Andy Cahoon. These names may mean nothing to you if you're not watching, but if you're in that area, I'm sure you'll have heard of these names. And they were just powerhouse players. They were really, really great musicians who really, really knew their stuff. And I consider it an immense privilege to have been able to play with them and learn from them. One of the things as well with them being northern is they're quite direct. So they taught me a lot of things about what to do and what not to do on the bandstand and off the bandstand. So a lot of the ethics I have been instilled into me by people like Ray Wilkes and Jimmy Thompson and Andy Cahoon. So they were very hard on me at times, some Ray less so than the others, but I'm so glad that I had those lessons and hopefully have learned a lot of those lessons as well. One of the first solos I ever really learnt was this one from In the Mood. I think it was that anyway. I'm totally running from memory on that. And Ray used to say to me occasionally, "Be careful, son. There's a nursing home in the northeast that a lot of people have to go to if they play that." Anyway, so they were the great memories of Ray and his just infectious passion for the music, which is something I've always tried to carry on myself, to always try to to pass that on to my students. And I think that's the great thing. Great teachers have a legacy that almost lasts forever, because, you know, Ray passed it on to me. I'll pass it on to my students, hopefully, and already some of my students have already done teaching, and they will pass it on to their students, and it just keeps following down. And that's the great thing about amazing teachers, and that's why I'll always be grateful that the name Ray Wilkes was bandied around, and I'll always be so grateful that Ray Wilkes was a part of my life. And I miss him today. It's over 5 years since I actually last saw him, and it was such a shock when he died. As you saw in my last vlog, I'd gone through a bit of a crazy couple of weeks, and it was reflect back now on how tough those weeks were 2 years ago. If you have time, there's a great tribute evening we did for Ray on the day of his funeral. It was a bit kind of sad that we didn't get the chance to play at his funeral and honour him, so we did something later on that evening at the Galleon Bar in Blackpool, and that was great. And yeah, I hope it honoured. And the great thing is today I'm in touch with Ray's granddaughter, and Ray's granddaughter's studying music in London as well, which is just fantastic, and I know he would have been so thrilled about that. So yeah, that's good. Anyway, I've got to crack on, get some practice done, because, you know, it's got to be done. This hard drive has bitten the dust, and it's really annoying because I haven't backed it up. Basically, it had my photo library on it, so I didn't have to keep it on the main Mac hard drive. But yeah, it's actually not beeping now, but it was before, so I'm not quite sure what's happened, but it's certainly not showing up on the disk, so rather frustrating. Right, just that in a 9-volt battery, please. A 9-volt battery. He's currently trying to convince her to like some Power Rangers. Do you like Power Rangers, Charlie? Yeah. I never understood why in shops they have to put the 9-volt batteries behind the counter. It seems to be going through batteries very quickly at the moment, this thing. Mind you, I've been doing a lot more vlogging recently, so that might be why. Hopefully this will make a big difference to the sound. See you guys in a bit. Okay, so when I've got this one, let me go back to a red pen again. Right swing tempo, okay? So that means I've got to swing the quavers, do-ba-dee-ba-da, okay? What's the key signature? D major. Yeah, okay. As I finished today's vlog, I was trying to think about how I could sum up kind of my relationship with Ray as a student, and kind of what that has meant for what's come afterwards. And I was reminded of some words that were attributed to Bill Clinton. I think I read them maybe in Alistair Campbell's diaries. I don't know, maybe not perfectly, but it's where it chimes in the back of my mind. And Clinton is said to have said that, you know, people won't really remember what you've said to them. They won't always remember what arguments you had or what you showed them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And Ray made me feel like I could be a musician. He made me feel like I could be passionate about jazz, that I could go out there and express myself. That was the main thing. As a teenager, finding that thing in jazz that meant I could express myself, that self-expression through music, that was the key that unlocked the door for me. And I'll always, always be very, very, very grateful for that. So thank you very much for watching today's vlog. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been a suitable enough tribute. Please, if you can, if you don't already, hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me, because the more subscribers I get, the better videos I can make for you. And remember, I said the 3,000th subscriber will be getting a free, actually you're going to get 2 free CDs from me. So make sure, keep the clock ticking. It's getting there, very, very close, very, very close. So it might be you if you hit it today. And of course, make sure you check out the videos that are coming up next.